Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Strange Appalachia. Um, Tonight we're going to be doing our first non-quarantine episode. At least I'm going to be doing a non-quarantine episode because thanks to Tennessee, we no longer have to wear a mask, and it's the greatest thing ever.
Yep. Like he said, we're a half quarantine edition. I still have to wear mine in Virginia, but it is what it is. We'll
Yeah,
get there eventually.
that's the good thing about Tennessee. It's pretty nice here, except for their football team is not very good. So,
Boom.
all right. So tonight's episode of Strange Appalachia, after I knocked the favorite football team of probably three-quarters of our fans, is it's a pretty weird story about a guy in a bunny costume from Northern Virginia. It takes place in a little town called Fairfax. Um,
To be completely fair, to throw in my half of this real quick, Fairfax is not a very small town for those who aren't familiar. It is in fact kind of a suburb of DC. But the small town part of this is it's actually just outside of Fairfax in Fairfax County in a place called Clifton.
yeah, it's about a guy in a bunny costume that doesn't act like you expect a guy in a bunny costume to act. He supposedly attacks people. He's made some verbal threats against some people, and he swings either an axe or a hatchet at people, depending on which stories you hear. Um, this
I
story,
know everybody that I've ever known that wore a bunny costume has been much more sane than that.
yeah, I can't think of very many people that I know that have bunny costumes that attack people on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So, um, this story is actually it's kind of taken on a life of its own. Um, there is some truth behind it. There are a few incidents, but now you've got people claiming that it's actually the ghost of the bunny man that they're seeing. Um, it's spread a lot to other stories. We have a local legend in Kingsport about Sinzabaugh Tunnel. And sometimes people will talk about Sinzabaugh Tunnel, they'll include the Bunny Man in that story, when really there's no mention of the Bunny Man at all in that story. And
It's funny you should mention that because there is, I won't say a direct connection, but a similarity between the two. In the fact that the Bunny Man is supposed to be frequent a bridge there in Clifton, and that bridge, the way it's set up, I'm looking at a couple of pictures of it here. It's kind of set up to be like a tunnel. So they're both tunnels, obviously, and I don't think we've talked about Sensabaugh Tunnel, or maybe we mentioned it when we did our traveling spirits. I don't know how much detail we went into that, but that part of it they're similar in the fact that they're both, one is a tunnel and the other one is a bridge that's set up like a tunnel.
yeah, they both have a similarity. They both look the same.
Hmm.
Um, the Bunny Man Tunnel there, it's actually an Amtrak train will run across the top of it sometimes.
Hmm.
I've seen some pictures of the Amtrak trains on that. So um, we're going to start out right here with the origin of it. There are two police reports. Um, Both of them state that these people were attacked by a guy in a bunny outfit. So I'm going to read the first one here. It says October 19th, 1970, and it was reported by U.S. Air Force Academy cadet Robert Bennett. It says he and his fiancee were visiting relatives on Guinea Road in Burke around midnight while returning from a football game. They reportedly parked their car in a field on Guinea Road uh, to visit an uncle who lived across the street from where the car was parked. As they sat in the front seat with the motor running, they noticed something moving outside their rear window. Moments later, the front of the passenger window was smashed in, and there was a white-clad figure standing on near the broken window. Bennett turned the car around while the man screamed at them about trespassing. He said, "You're on private property, and I have your tag number." As they drove down the road, the couple discovered a hatchet in the floor. When the police requested a description of the man, Bennett insisted that he was wearing a white suit with long bunny ears, while Bennett's fiancee contested that their assailant did not have bunny ears on, but had a white hat of some sort. They both remember seeing his face clearly, but they could not determine his race, and the hatchet was returned to Bennett after examination. So this story kind of seems almost fabricated to me. I mean, I don't want to call Mr. Bennett a liar, uh, but there's some things about this story that seem made up. Um, like the fact that he was supposedly parked in a field with his fiance with the car running, and supposedly it was across from their uncle's house when the uncle didn't live there, or it leads me to believe that the uncle didn't live there, but he was in the field in the middle of nowhere.
To be fair, you also mentioned that they were coming back from a football game, so that part at least I could see because, especially in that sort of little area there, and then obviously on down farther airway, football does tend to be pretty big, so that does lend itself a little bit to it. Um, but yeah, there's definitely some odd things in this story.
Yeah, it's 1970, and I wouldn't be surprised if him and his girlfriend were uh, parked, so to speak, heavy petting, and then maybe got caught by somebody.
Yeah,
I mean, that's something that seems pretty likely to me. But, it's not very often anybody's going to smash a window out. You know, it's
yeah,
kind of,
that and the fact that he saw bunny ears and the fiance saw a hat of some kind. I could see that being a somewhat of a mistake that could easily be made.
yeah,
Especially if the guy came up on him, scared him pretty good. He got a glimpse of him and then took off out of there. And I believe you said, if my memory serves correctly, there that he attacked the passenger side, so she would have gotten a better view of him than uh, the witness did, Mr. Bennett.
yeah. So, I mean, that story could go either way. I'm not,
Hmm.
I'm not 100% sold on it, but at the same time, it doesn't seem uh, something that would be just easy to dismiss. Like I
Yeah,
said,
I
the
think
fact
you could
that
look at it kind of like any good story. I've said this, I don't know about on here before, but a lot of your really good stories have a little bit of truth in them and a little bit of fiction in them, and I think you could definitely easily convince yourself that there's a little bit of both there.
all right, so let's get on to the second police report here. And it says the second sighting was on October 29th of 1970, and that's 10 days later. And it
Hmm.
says when construction security guard Paul Phillips approached a man standing on the porch of an unfinished home in Kings Park West on Guinea Road. I think I'm pronouncing that right, Guinea Road. Uh, Phillips said the man was wearing a gray, black, and white bunny suit and was about 20 years old. He was approximately 5 foot 8 inches tall and weighed about 175 pounds. The man began chopping at a porch post with a long handled axe, saying, "You're trespassing. If you come any closer, I'll chop your head off." It says the Fairfax County Police opened an investigation into both incidents, but they were both eventually closed for lack of evidence. In the weeks following the incidents, more than 50 people contacted the police claiming to have seen the bunny man. So, there was at least 50 reports in. And here's something I'm reading right here that says a university student submitted a research paper on the bunny man that they found 54 variations of the two incidents.
Hmm.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've not in my research of it, I did not find either of those particular police reports. But I saw several places where it mentioned that he was possibly an escaped convict from, or an escaped convict or an escaped patient from a mental hospital that's there in the area, um, and that he was basically living as a homeless person there in the area around the bridge.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is how many of these tunnel stories pop up or bridge stories pop up, and they all have a lot of similarities to them. You
Hmm.
see a lot of a lot of times it'll be an escaped mental patient or a convict or someone like that that's set up and now they're terrorizing people in an area.
Yeah.
And it's a very similar story to the Sinzabah Tunnel story.
Yeah. The Sensabaugh Tunnel is basically different, only that um, instead of being an escaped mental patient, it was a man who went crazy one night because his family got killed or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact details, but his family got killed and he went crazy that night. So it was sort of more of a spur of the moment, but same general idea.
Yeah, the other thing I think is really interesting about it is how many variations of the same story come out of the same area. The
Mhm.
one lady said she had 54, but how many people have went to that and saw something and then now they've got a story to tell, whether or not, you know, their story is really what happened. It could be just what they perceived have happened. And I
Right.
mean, it's to the point now where, it was in 1970. So chances are, if there's a bunny man out there, eh, he's going to be too old to still be running around out there trying to kill people with a hatchet for sure.
Yeah,
So
looking at that reasonably, if the one report is correct and that they estimated the person to be in their 20s, was that right?
25, yes.
About 25. So that was, if it was 70, that was 51 years ago. So you're looking at somebody that's 76, 77 years old now, today's day and age. Um, not saying that there aren't some pretty fit 70-year-olds out there, but just your law of averages says most likely that is a person that is not um, not out there chopping people up.
Yeah, he's not going to be swinging an axe around. But I like how the story evolves, and now people are seeing the ghost of Bunny Man. You
Hmm.
know, it's just changed with the times, and that way, the cool thing about legends like this is they're so, I don't know, inclusive. Everybody can get a story to tell.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff out there that we're trying to save the story of by doing these podcasts and then going out and investigating where we can. Um, but they're like you said, they're all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, back a few years ago, we had the clown scare where people were dressing up like clowns and going out and standing and staring at people and making people just feel genuinely uncomfortable. Um, and so, it's almost like a precursor to that.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just some guy who was just trying to freak people out.
sure.
I mean, I don't really have a good answer as to what it is, but
Got tired of watching people go out and park in that field and you know hang
well,
out all night.
I know one of the places that I used to go camping when I was younger was near one of these places where people go and make out and park in fields or whatever. And it would be there would be 12, 13, 14 of us around between age, let's say 12 and 15. And man, we would do all kinds of stuff to mess with those people. You know, one guy actually managed to get a hold of a military issue smoke bomb. You light the top of it and smoke comes out. And it put
Sure.
out something like 30,000 cubic feet of smoke or something obscene. And we used that to great effect.
I'm sure.
So, I mean, no matter what you're doing, there's always someone out there ready to mess with you. But I mean, if you can imagine, 12 or 13 kids out there running across these fields dressed in Halloween masks throwing smoke bombs, I'm
Yeah,
sure they're
I don't know
not.
that we're getting quite that effect here because I think somebody would have seen 14 kids, but a couple, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, this guy didn't have smoke bombs. All he had was a hatchet. So,
Yeah, significantly more dangerous.
yeah, we never waved any hatchets around, but we had a good time.
That's fair. Anything else you want to add in on the Bunny Man while we're here?
No, it's a good story. It's not a long story. Unfortunately, we didn't we didn't get into a very long story this week. Um, this weekend coming up Saturday in Townsend, which I don't know if this will get published in time, but
It
uh,
will. I'll have it
uh,
up tonight.
awesome. Then Townsend, hopefully, I'm going to be able to go to that Bigfoot festival. Me and Arlie are going to try to hit that up and see what they got going on.
Cool.
And
I do also want to mention here coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we do we're sort of excited about this. Have a live in-person investigation scheduled. Don't really want to say where or when we're going to do it yet, so that people don't show up and try to prank us or anything like that. We want to show up and sort of get what's there, regardless of other people trying to mess with us. But that is coming up here in the next, we'll say 3-4 weeks, next month or so. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think we'll have a pretty good time with that, and that will be a ghost investigation instead of a cryptid investigation. So more like the Dank Fire Hall than the Dog Man.
and the other thing too, we've got another one lined up. We just haven't got any dates set for it yet. Um, my wife works at an antique store part time, and she's got a booth there. And the antique store is supposedly haunted. It's a former mortuary and funeral home, and so we've been in contact with the owner there, and she's willing to let us go in and do it.
Very cool. Very cool. Any other closing thoughts you'd like to throw out there before we sign this thing off tonight?
Um, yeah, I'm gonna throw a couple more things out there. We're getting into the season now. We're starting to get pretty nice outside, and hopefully, we tried to go camping last weekend. That didn't really work out for us, but hopefully, um, when the berries start coming in, and when uh, summer gets here, we're going to start doing a few more Bigfoot investigations. I think we got some pretty good places, and you kind of want to wait for the berries to come in, and that way, uh, supposedly Bigfoot is attracted to those as a food source, just like everything else is.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we can knock out get out in the woods and knock out some of that stuff.
Heck yeah, man.
All right, JD, that's all I got.
All right, cool. Well, if you all haven't figured out the drill by now, I'll take you through it again. Feel free, if you like what you heard here tonight, to go down and like and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Check us out over on Facebook at our page, Strange Appalachia. We'll post updates on there of stuff that we've got going on and things like that when we get to where we can get out to some of these festivals and things and really start hitting that up a whole lot more than what we have been doing. And if you've got a story out there that you'd like to share or something that you'd like us to come investigate, send us a message, let us know, and we will be more than happy to get back to you. And I
All
think that does it. So we'll see you all next time on Strange Appalachia.
right, take it easy, everybody.